Okay, so this video will walk you through needle felting. And so there are different kinds of needles you can buy. This set has two handles and a bunch of the same size or gauge needle. And these are the ones I use most often to put the needle into the holder. There's like a little pin that the needle goes alongside of, and then you just push it in and you push it kind of hard so that it stays. But those needles that are a single needle, and again, I use that one the most. And then this set has different gauges in it. Sometimes the handles are wooden, and you put the needles in the exact same way. And then there's also, they make a holder that will hold multiple needles if you're felting a larger project. So if you're purchasing a set, I would say that the one with the pink handles is fine. And then the other thing that's important to have is a surface to felt on. So this is a felting pad, and I did put one on the list. They're not very expensive. If you would like to save the dollars, then you can use a piece of foam. This is the kind of foam that comes in packing, and then a foam pool noodle also could work. And then you'll be felting on plain felt, which you could purchase at Michael's. Don't get the ones that are like real stiff. This is just felt sheets that are not, sometimes they're stiff or they're sticky on the back. And then when it comes to purchasing felt, you can purchase it pre-dyed. It comes in these little bags, different colors. In a set, you can get lots of colors for not that much. The bags are tiny, but what you'll be felting will be pretty small, and you'll only use little bits of felt at a time. And a little bit of felt goes a pretty long way. So then what I'm going to show you here are some examples of things that I have felted. So I've been felting lots of eyeballs. And so you can see they stick up a little bit off of the surface of the white surface felt, but they are all needle felted. And beware if you have cats, they really do love needle felt, and they just love felt in general. This is what was happening while I was trying to film this. I left this in because it's funny. So not only does he love the needle felt pieces, but he loves the mat that you felt on. So this is what happened. You just have to watch out because the sharp needles are there. So we left him in. So I did want to point out, if you want to make something that has some dimension, but you don't want to fill it with your valuable felting felt, you could always purchase this bag. Came from Michael's. It's kind of like cotton. It's a little thicker than what you would put inside a pillow, and you can felt into it pretty well. It reminds me a lot of a cotton ball, so you probably could also use cotton balls, but this eye that sticks up off the surface here is filled with that. And so there's just like a little piece of it in there. Usually I cut it with scissors to make it, it's easier to cut with scissors than to pull. Okay, so then to get started on your project, you can draw it out on your felt. After I drew this, I was wishing I had drawn it a little bit larger, but I went with it. I'm just using a permanent marker. You are going to felt over the marker, so it doesn't matter if there's a drawing. And so what I'm making is like three colors intersecting as my symbol. So I'll put a different color in each section. And then I did that so that I could show you how to make edges when you're felting. So to get started, I'm going to choose a color and show you how to prepare the felting wool. So you're going to pull a piece off of it, and then before you use it, just break up the fibers like this. And then you'll put it in the area that you would like to for it to be. And then you just start felting it with your needle. The needles are very sharp, so obviously you want to be careful, keep your hands out of the way. But first thing to do is just kind of to stick it down. And then as you felt, you'll be able to refine the edges. And throughout this video, you'll see that I'm able to do that. I So as I'm doing that, you'll see the needle, like I'm kind of pushing the felt over and down. You just have to be careful with the needle. I have broken them, but with the felting mat, it is less likely that you'll break it. The time that I broke one was when I was felting it into the fiber fill that I showed you because it's a little bit thicker. So you just have to be careful. Um, if this was any thicker, if you're doing something thicker, you could use a thicker gauge needle. So I'm just felting away there and trying to get this to stick down. I'll show you a little bit closer and then I'll speed up this process so that you can see um, how it works. So as you're felting, it will felt itself to the pad, but that's the idea. So then when you pull it off, it actually helps. It pulls the fibers in through the back. And then um, I always check on the back to make sure that I have felted everything. And so if you look at the edges as I go, you'll see I'm kind of trying to outline it. And then it's just, this is in real time. This is not sped up yet. So then after I finish that section, I'm going to move to the next color and I'm going to put it right in that spot there. So again, you pull the wool from the bag. And you see, you really do not need to use very much at all. And then separate the fibers. Just kind of make a piece that you can fit into your shape on your pattern. And then you can always add more. Even if you have too much, it's actually not too difficult to kind of condense the pieces as you're felting. So this is a larger piece, which I wanted to show you. So I start out by just attaching it. So as you push the felt through onto the felting pad, the fibers all um, start to come together and create a seal. And so I'm just working to stick this down. And then I just wanted to show you this might be a place when it's larger to use a larger multi needle just for a couple of passes to get to go a little bit faster. And what that does is it just sticks more of it down at one time. This piece is pretty small in general with the whole symbol, so I don't really need to necessarily use that the whole time. So after I have a lot of it stuck down, I need to refine the edges. And so you can do that with the edge of the needle. So you're just sort of pushing along the the line that is there, the Sharpie line, and then pulling the fibers across and down. And the more you do that, you'll start to see the edge get more defined and the edges between the colors also to become more defined. And I'll speed this up so that you can watch it in fast motion. Okay, so on to the third color. I'm filling the larger circle to the left with yellow. And so I pulled out a little too much there. So you just put it back in the bag and then separate all those fibers, mix them all together. And you can actually do this if you're mixing colors. So I'm not mixing any colors here, but if you want to mix different colors together, you basically separate the fibers, put two pieces together and mix them. And that's one of the things that I've done use when making those eyeballs that I showed you. Um, so again, you're just felting this into the shape and I'll speed this up so that you can see how the edges get defined as you're felting. I found that I needed more than I had added. So this is a good place to show you how to add more. So I just take a very small piece and kind of make it into the shape that I need to fill that area. And then as you felt it, it will blend. So just felting that down first. And I'm adding a little bit more there and then felting that into the spot. Sometimes I'll push the felt around the needle. I kind of spin it around, and that pushes more of um, the needle felt into that area. I do that a lot, and you'll see that in the video, especially if you're trying to get a really sharp corner. I apologize, my hand is in the way. It's hard to see. My cat is obsessed. Okay, so on to the next color. And so I started to felt the blue, and you'll see I skipped the beginning part and now I'm just refining the edges. And so this is a good place, especially with the blue on the white, that you can see how you kind of are going to pick up the fiber and then push them into the area you want them to be. And you can use the needle to straighten out the edges. So once you have some of the sections done and you flip it over, you can see where it's felted and where it's not. Um, so you can, once you fill in all the areas, you can always go back and refine the edges. They're not going to blend together unless you felt them together. So this is a really tiny piece. So I took a really small piece of purple and I'm able to first stick it down by just felting it. And then I'm like pushing it into the shape. And then this is actually turns out to be a good way to see how to make the distinction between the edges. And you really use the side of the needle to do that. So once I flip this over, you'll see there's a space there in the blue where I noticed that it didn't push all the way through. So I know I have to felt that area a little bit more. Um, so I've skipped ahead here and I am felting the green in. So as I do that, I go to the other colors, refine the edges, refine the spaces in between them. In the rest of the video, I decided to fill the center with black, and then I decided to outline the shape in black. And so I'm going to show you this sped up, how I filled in the center, and you can see the edges getting more refined as I go, especially when it's sped up, you can really see that. And then you'll see I'll start to fill in the edges. And when I am doing the edges, the pieces of felt that I'm using are very, very small. And you only need a few fibers. It's almost like you're pulling out specific fibers. And then if you have too much, you can push it through and into the cracks. And so the rest of this video will be sped up to show you that. And then at some point I did go back and make sure I felted the whole section of blue. When I flipped it over, you could see there was a white area. So that was something that I needed to fix.